Alright, thought I'd do another video today that can kind of go along with my last video, the idea of the mother. This video, I've been really considering the idea of the father, and through that, um, I'm also considering ideas of duality and how things mix and match. Just the idea of oh, just left and right, hot and cold, uh, light and dark, all these dualities in life. Um, so this video may seem a bit contradicting with what I'm saying. Like I may say one thing and then say the complete opposite thing about it, the same instance or objective that I'm trying to make. I may say the exact opposite about it, but that's kind of just, I don't know how life is, like the push and pull, like opposites attract kind of thing, where one thing, one side will bring out the best in the other and vice versa. But working through the idea of the father and the idea that something like that and these things that the idea of the father will bring forward, as in the left brain versus the right brain being the creative and the left being more cognitive, analytical, scientific, things like that, mathematically inclined. Um, but with this one being the left brain, the more intuitive, analytical side, I wrote some stuff down instead of with the idea of the mother that is usually more intuitive, which is more spontaneous. And I didn't write anything down, I just kind of thought about it a little bit, which goes to the idea I actually had to do all this consideration, all this analyzing about the right side of the brain, the creative part, the spontaneous part, and I still, yeah, it's just that idea of duality, where things work back and forth. But yeah, I wrote some things down about the idea of the father to just kind of, I don't know, make myself put these things on paper, and the idea of analyzing and the idea of the father in the left brain. I wrote things like fortitude, like being settled in ideas, thoughts, self, um, just who you are. And then there's the sheltering aspect, which this can also go towards the mother in the kind motherly aspect, where, like I said in my other video, you can always go there to find comfort or ask for help, you know. But yeah, and these things that I'm writing, it's good to be able to bring them back and like bring them into each side, the mother or the father, the right brain or the left brain. And I did a little bit of reading about it when it comes to how these processes work in our brains, when it comes to the firing of the synapses between each side. And there's not a lot of evidence that correlates to the idea that we actually work independently when dealing with things such as mathematics or language, which would be considered more left brain, as opposed to artistic things. Yeah, just anything artistic, something that would come more spontaneously. There's not a lot of scientific proof in the singling out of one side of the brain. And people always talk about how someone's more inclined to the left brain and the right brain, when there is a action that goes on which you have a response, a feeling, and then you analyze the feeling, and then you make a decision and you act. And sometimes when you act, there's a bit of feeling that goes into your action. It's not always totally spontaneous, but you still have to think about it. And this is still kind of the duality idea. But bringing these things together is very important. As I was talking about in my last video, the idea of the mother, whenever someone maybe doesn't bring into consideration these emotions and feelings all the time, that they should bring them in, and that it will help to better yourself and to better the lives of those around you. And when helping someone, just bringing all these ideas together and not constricting oneself to believing that due to your gender you should only consider one side. But again, I kind of stopped citing these things that I wrote. The shelter one was the last one, and fortitude. And then the big thing that comes in whenever you deal with the right brain, the masculine aspect, is the willpower. You push forward, and you stay fortified in what it is you're doing. And then there's this one physical aspect, where you see the physical idea of a man being strong and physically fit, to say. And whenever you think about the woman, the left brain is more inclined to creativity and what goes along with that. Then another one I wrote was strength for the father, protection, bettering oneself and others, the idea of building shelter comes into consideration a lot when you think of the idea of the father. Like in older times, you'd think that the man, being the strong one, would build the home, build the shelter, build the protection. When on the other side, a lot of times you see in nature the female is the one that is more so protective, and a lot of times the male goes off and gets food or whatever when it comes to animals. But still, in the feminine aspect, the protection can come into play. But another one was the understanding, which can still go into the feminine. Understanding is a very scientific thing whenever you really try to analyze and piece things. Is very left brain considered left brain. But on the other side, with the understanding and analyzing, I was reading that a lot of left brain is considered seeing things as a whole and seeing how parts work together, which is still analyzing. You still have to analyze it to an extent, but it's more geared towards feeling and the understanding. But like I was saying, all these can be flip-flopped, and it's good to consider that idea. My battery's running down already. I'm going to kind of try to hurry this, but a father is a lot of times wanting to be humble. We associate that humble aspect with a father in a lot of ideas. Left brain, analyzing, problem solving, precision. Another one I put a star by it was knowledge. And when you gain knowledge, you kind of see things in a bigger picture, and you know more aspects of it. And these aspects start to become natural to you, and you don't really have to think about them so much when it comes to knowledge. and I wrote the word scientific also. And then something I was thinking about was the ego. Um, the ego being objective, being analytical, and um, some things I've come across when it comes to the ego is that we have created the ego in order to analyze our environment and make decisions when it comes to our environment and what needs to be done. And I also wrote the steady, grounding, objective, and yeah, that's pretty good there. I'll go back to talking about the ego a little bit. Yeah, just the idea of the ego and how we have to create these fortified beliefs and how our experiences come into play when we go about life, and what we do every day has to do with the ego in a way. But yeah, if someone tells you don't be so egotistical, I mean, there's something that comes into play with pride, and the pride and ego kind of go along with each other, just because whenever you see something in life that helps you, you're going to tend to go more towards that. But and in a way, you would have pride for that because you would be more likely to go towards that. But oh, pride is an interesting concept. Um, some people could be too prideful and they could push their beliefs on people. Um, but yeah, pride's just to me a word. It's kind of a restricting word in a way. Whenever it comes to considering other possibilities, and whenever you don't do that, you lose a lot of growth, and you continue to concentrate on one piece when you could consider a different aspect and in turn grow more. But yeah, in some of my other videos, I talked about how sometimes it's good to stay with one thing when it comes to the idea of production and just living life and being able to being able to produce something that is beneficial. Yeah, it's really good to bring these things together, all these ideas of the fatherly aspect and the motherly aspect, the right and left brain, bringing them together into one. And I don't know what y'all believe or consider, but the idea of oneness is very profound to me, and that can go beyond yeah, but I don't want to get too much into that.